Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I have not posted on this channel in quite some time. Um, However, ladies and gentlemen, today is the day that I'm going to be posting again. I'm going to be making a weather video. Um, Life update. I live in Pennsylvania now, with with my loving mother, father, and grandmother. Um, I am in the 10th grade and I am living peacefully right now. Uh, Today, specifically for this video, as you can see, and if you're blind, you can't see, but I will explain it to you anyway. I am currently looking at the Storm Prediction Center's main page right now. For those of you who do not know what the Storm Prediction Center is, the Storm Prediction Center is basically a sub of a. It's a part of the National Weather Service. That's what I was trying to say. It's a part of the National Weather Service, and the Storm Prediction Center specifically is a center that tries to predict when severe thunderstorms and tornado outbreaks will occur, when, where, how, etc. Excuse me. Um, so today we are specifically going to look at the days 4 through 8 outlook. Uh, as you can see, Saturday, April 11th, and Sunday, April 12th, there will be a potential severe weather event, and let's dive into it right now. Sorry, wrong thing. So this is what the Storm Prediction Center day 4 through 8 severe weather outlook. It's what it looks like, and it was issued on April 6th, 2026 at 8:36:03 UTC or 4:36:03 Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, excuse me. So here's what the day 4 through 8 outlook looks like, specifically for today. This is day 4 because you can see the D4, D representing day, is highlighted in red. So I have day 4 selected. Now I have day 5 selected, and as you can see, it says predictability too low. That basically means that the uh, the uh, able to be predicted severe weather, it is too low. Predicting severe weather, being able to predict severe weather is just simply too low for days 4 and 5, according to the Storm Prediction Center. But here we move on to day 6. Now, day 6, there's a 15% risk for the for West Central Texas. It's a Central West Central Texas, including the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles, right? So you got the Mexican border all the way up through Lubbock, Amarillo, potentially into Lawton, Oklahoma, I believe. If I turn on cities, yeah, Lawton, Oklahoma may be in this. Um, there is a 15% risk of severe weather, including Amarillo, Lubbock, Abilene, Midland, and Fort Stockton, Texas, into Woodward, Oklahoma, and even into Liberal, Kansas. Yes, Liberal, Kansas is the town name. Don't ask me why, but it is. Uh, but there you go. So you have a 15% risk of severe weather for Texas into Oklahoma, into extreme southern Kansas, including Liberal, Kansas. And then here we have day 7. The risk expands northeastward a little bit and gets a little bit wider, a little bit fatter. Now we have more cities involved in this severe weather setup. We have the Mexican border, obviously Mexican-American border in this, and then it expands from, you know, central southwestern Texas a little bit, into central Texas, into Oklahoma, and into Kansas. It shifted east away from the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles. However, the eastern half of the Oklahoma panhandle and the southeastern half of the panhandle of Texas is included in this severe weather uh, delineation. And now this has shifted east a little bit, comparing day 6, which does not include Oklahoma City, Norman, Fort Still, and Wichita Falls. But now in day 7, it includes the aforementioned cities, including almost Wichita. Wichita is now almost on the cusp of being in this severe weather setup, basically. So that's basically it for days 6 and day 7. Uh, Day 6 is Saturday, and day 7 is Sunday. You could see SPC Day 7 severe weather outlook issued, and then when it was issued, when it's valid, and then who essentially made this outlook come to fruition. Anyway, we're gonna get rid of the cities now. So this is day 7. This is day 6. You could see the difference here. Day 7, the risk shifts progressively eastward. Now let's actually read the description, because there is a description of every outlook. So it usually gives a brief summary with day 4 through 8 convective outlook. National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, 3:34 a.m. Central Daylight Time, Monday, April 6th, 2026. Valid 12Z on the 9th, which is a Thursday, until the 14th, which is a Monday, on 12Z. And now let's actually, oh boy, I don't know, I did not mean to laugh there, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what happens. Sometimes my body just glitches, but anyway, I digress. I apologize. Let's read the discussion. So, Thursday, day 4 to Saturday, day 6. From Thursday to Saturday, mid-level flow over the south-central United States is forecast to gradually transition from westerly to southwesterly. In response, low-level moisture advection will likely take place in the southern and central plains. Isolated severe thunderstorms will be possible near a front in the central plains from late Thursday afternoon into the early overnight period as a low-level jet strengthens. On Friday, weak instability is forecast to develop over much of the southern plains. Isolated to scattered thunderstorms will be possible in the afternoon and evening across parts of this air mass. An isolated severe threat may develop in some areas, but deep layer shear is forecast to be relatively weak over much of the southern plains, suggesting a more localized severe potential. Now, they said days 4 through 6. Now, days 4 and 5, like I just showed you earlier, do not have any severe weather delineation risk. So the Storm Prediction Center is essentially just discussing the events leading up to days 6 and 7. So from Thursday to Saturday, which is days 4 to day 6. Day 6, Saturday, is when the actual severe weather event is going to, explode and come to fruition. But there may be severe weather beforehand. It just is not prognosticated either due to uncertainties or due to just it's not potent enough. So now we go over to the next paragraph. Oh, and so I'll basically recap essentially what some things are. So mid-level flow, it's flow at the middle levels. Mid-level flow is just like at the 500 millibar level. Millibars are a unit of measurement in terms of pressure. Westerly to southwesterly, meaning essentially the flow of the wind, the direction of the mid-level flow, the flow at the mid-levels, and so that it shifts from westerly, meaning it's coming from the west, to southwesterly, meaning it's coming from the southwest. All right, so low-level moisture advection. It's basically in the lower levels of the atmosphere closer to the surface. Moisture, like dew points and relative humidity values, are advecting, meaning they are heading north, and that is expected to come to fruition. Uh, let's see, any more vocab words? Low-level jet. Basically, at the 850 millibar level, there is something called a low-level jet, and it usually sparks in the evening to overnight hours, and it essentially sparks a reinvigoration of thunderstorms when they're just about to start, heading into the death phase, because thunderstorms, they like to thrive and survive in the daytime because there's diurnal heating, and yes, there are clouds from said thunderstorms, but sun is still filtering through. Sunlight is essentially hitting the ground, bouncing up, and things can still build and build. Energy instability can still build and build and build. However, if it's nighttime, there is no longer any sunlight that's hitting because the sun is now greeting itself on the other side of the earth. And so now there's no diurnal heating, and naturally temperatures will start to take a decline because there's no radiational diurnal heating that's affecting not only the ground but the atmosphere. So the instability will start to wane, maybe convective inhibition will start to spark up again, but usually thunderstorms start dying closer and closer to midnight. However, it really does depend on when the setup is expected to arise at its full potential, because thunderstorms can still be blasting forward hours after midnight. It really all depends. Now, the low-level jet is just winds at the 850 millibar level are sparking. 40, 50, 60 knots. That's an impressive low-level jet. That brings wind shear. Wind shear is basically wind speed and wind direction changing with height. Now, if you correlatively subside in height, the wind shear will change. Like, let's say, for example, at 30,000 feet, there are winds flowing at 110 knots to the southwest. However, you go down to 8,000 feet, and the winds are flowing at 70 knots and are pointed to the south or coming from the south. That's called wind shear, and there's speed shear and directional shear, and they seem pretty self-explanatory. So there could be an isolated severe weather event in the southern plains from Thursday to Saturday, but Saturday kicks off everything. Now let's transition over to the next paragraph. On Saturday, the potential for severe thunderstorms is expected to increase over parts of the southern high plains as mid-level southwesterly flow strengthens. Model consensus suggests that the greatest severe threat potential will be over parts of West Texas, where some models have an axis of moderate instability in place by late Saturday afternoon. Supercells with large hail and severe wind gusts will be possible in the afternoon and evening, with storms that develop near this instability axis. Now, what this is basically telling is on Saturday, right? Day 6, when everything is expected to go kaboom in this severe weather setup, severe thunderstorm potential will increase. And as you saw, it increased in, west central Texas almost, and central Texas. And basically, the ingredients for thunderstorms will start stacking on top of each other, right? Mid-level southwesterly flow strengthens, so flow from the southwest at the mid-levels at like 500 millibars will start to strengthen. And model consensus, meaning model guidance from the computer models, suggesting the greatest severe weather threat will be over parts of West Texas, into the Texas Panhandle, into the Oklahoma Panhandle, and into liberal Kansas. And late Saturday afternoon, some models show an axis of moderate instability. An axis of moderate instability is basically showing like a line of the greatest instability. Alright, so let's transition over to these last two paragraphs. Sunday, Day 7, Monday, Day 8. On Sunday, an upper-level low and an associated trough is forecast to move eastward across the desert southwest and northern Mexico. Ahead of this trough, moderate instability is forecast to develop by Sunday afternoon over much of the southern high plains. Scattered severe thunderstorms would be possible to the east of a West Texas dry line in the afternoon and evening. A severe threat should continue into the overnight as a low-level jet strengthens ahead of the approaching trough. Now, a trough is a part of the jet stream, and it is a natural meridional phase, and it's essentially when the jet stream dips southward. The jet stream, it's like, imagine a piece of paper, and it's being moved all across the earth, right? Imagine just like a spiral of paper, and it's all across the circumference of the earth. Imagine that. Now imagine that you can take that piece of paper and you can move it up and move it down, right? You can move the paper up and you can move the paper down. Moving the paper down towards the equator is called a trough because it dips from higher latitudes and goes down towards the equator and then goes back up towards higher latitudes. All right, so it goes from high to low to high. It's like a bowl. It's like a bowl shape. The opposite of that is a ridge. A ridge goes from, lower latitudes to higher latitudes and then back to lower latitudes. That's an inverted bowl shape. Imagine taking a bowl and flipping it upside down. That's what a ridge would look like. All right, this first paragraph, an upper level low, basically meaning a low at the upper levels, around 200, 300 millibars around the upper levels. A low is essentially a center of low pressure. Low pressure flows counterclockwise. Counterclockwise is the opposite of how a clock flows. It goes from 12 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and you notice that the hands move from north. Like imagine a clock is a compass, right? You have north 12 o'clock, east 3 o'clock, south 6 o'clock, west 9 o'clock. And it flows from north to east to south to west, from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Imagine that, but you flip it the opposite way. So instead of it flowing northeast, southwest, it goes northwest, southeast, from 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock. That's how a low pressure system would flow, would suck in air. Alright. Again, low-level jet is mentioned over here. Low-level jet strengthening is essentially just helping a severe weather outbreak come to fruition. Dry line, it may sound a little bit self-explanatory, but there are dry and wet conditions. And usually a dry line is where higher humidity values and lower humidity values meet and make a boundary. That's called a dry line. And thunderstorms are notorious for exploding off of dry lines. Now, again, you have to have the proper thermodynamics, the proper kinematics, but if you do, you will have a great dry line setup. All right. Now, moving on to the last and final paragraph. On Monday, the upper level trough is forecast to move quickly northeastward across the central United States with an axis of moisture and instability located in the Great Plains. Scattered severe thunderstorms will be possible from Monday into Monday night. Monday is day 8. From the southern plains northward into the upper Midwest. At this extended range, there is still considerable uncertainty concerning the timing of the trough. For this reason, we will hold off on a threat area until the models show better agreement. So that last paragraph, to sum it up, basically said that there may be severe weather on day 8. However, it's too far out to tell. It is still too far in the future to be able to understand what is going to occur. I mean, the Storm Prediction Center, they get it. There's going to be something. There's going to be the upper level low with its associated trough moving northeast into the central U.S. with an axis of moisture and instability in the Great Plains. They know that, but they don't know essentially where the severe weather specific corridors. They don't know where specific corridors of severe weather are going to set up because every single model is going to tell a different story. That I like to call models and their associated discrepancies and idiosyncrasies the windshield wiper effect. Now, this is not an original term, I don't think. It has definitely been insinuated by multiple meteorologists, but I like to call it the windshield wiper effect. Models will go back and forth painting different pictures, even on day one. Models will still paint slightly different pictures, and it can really make forecasters scratch their heads in confusion. However, once the days start to get closer and closer and closer to the severe weather event, it will no longer be an issue because uncertainty will start to wane progressively and then it will get drastically lower by day 3 and day 2 and then day 1. Day 1, there's virtually no uncertainty. However, there's still maybe a tiny speck of uncertainty. However, sometimes we just don't know how much uncertainty there will be besides looking at the models. So that, yeah, so there may be a threat area in the upper Midwest, near Illinois, maybe Iowa, Indiana, something along those lines. I don't have a pen right now. I don't have a drawing tool, I don't think. Uh, so there really is I can't really draw anything really. Not at least not on here where the map is. Um, so that will essentially end things today. I will try to do this every day. However, obviously I can't do it all the time. I have a busy schedule. I have school. I have a job. I have parents. I have a family. I have myself, my mental health to take care of. So I will try to do this as much as I can every day. No guarantees though. And if I do it every day, it won't remain consistent. It won't be at the same time. Because again, I have school, I have work, I have family, and I have myself to take care of. So I've got a lot of things on my plate. Uh, so yeah. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here today. Hopefully you guys have a great day and a great rest of your week because I know it's Monday. Things can be challenging on Monday, so I hope you have a better rest of your week and a great rest of your day today. It's currently at this time 2:43 post meridian Eastern Daylight Time. One Now it's 2:44 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It's 1:44 p.m. Central, 12:44 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, and 11:44 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So please, like I said, have a great day and great rest of your week. Alrighty, I will see you in the next one.